collective account that I share with Marissa and Adrian, so my bad. Hey, Liz, what up? Hey, Leilani. So we're going to get started here. I'm just making sure that I'm streaming on the platforms that I'm supposed to be streaming on. Hello. So today's mental health talk for Asian women, very specifically, is going to talk about choosing to be a mother or not be a mother, or even more, not generally, but also speaking, prioritizing your career over having a family. And I wrote this affirmation card, my Golden Goddess Affirmation card, about this topic because I'm an Asian woman. Like, it's something that I've thought about like a million times. Just because, ever since we were born as women, the earliest we can hold a baby doll, it will be put in our arms. So, this being a mother thing has been constantly put in our head for years and years and years. And I don't think there's anything wrong with being a mother. I do think that social pressure of being a mother is really unfun. But before I get more into it, let me read this. Let me read the affirmation cards. And I'm sorry if I burp. I literally stuffed like a piece of toast into my mouth before I started this because I realized I was hungry. Okay, so the card reads, "It is perfectly fine if I prioritize my career aspirations over having a child. Not every woman wants to be a mother, and that is okay." So I am going to address that last sentence first. Not every woman wants to be a mother, and that is okay. Ooh, and I can see in the chat, lots of us feel this way. So when I was younger, I wanted to be a mom because I thought that's just what I was supposed to do. It's like when you're young and you think you go to school, you go to college, you meet a boy, you get married, you have kids, you buy a house. I think that step came after marriage. I don't know, whatever. But you know what I mean? There is this A, B, C, D, E, F, G thing to life that I feel is like really fed to us very frequently. That when you have your life set out like that, it makes it, one, hard sometimes to see what you actually want to do with your life. And two, it makes it really hard if you don't want to take that specific journey. And so it was really important for me to make this card of not every woman wants to be a mother, and that's okay. Because I want women to know it's okay. It's okay if you don't want to be a mom. And I said this in my little story about doing this live show. I want to be a mother, but that wasn't always the case. And I still very much support women who do not want to be mothers. So let me go back because I think I skipped around. So like I said, when I was young, I wanted to be a mother. That was more from the fact that I just thought that was life. Then as I got older and into my 20s, I didn't want to be a mother anymore because I really thought that I wasn't suited to be a mother. This is when I was really finding out about my mental illnesses and becoming diagnosed with different things, and figuring out that there was a lot of unresolved trauma that I faced and that I didn't know what to do with. And I did not want to pass that to my children. I think that sentiment is actually a sentiment that a lot of people can relate to. I know there are several people in my life who have had not great, to say the least, not great childhoods, who don't want to be parents because they don't want to create, they don't want to have children and not know what to do with them. They don't feel that it's right for them And that's very loaded. Whether or not you go through trauma, that really, I'm going to say right now, like, that shouldn't determine whether or not you have a child solely. It's your choice. It's your choice. Let me try to not get mixed up in my mind. Let's just track my story in my head. That will be easier for me. So I didn't want to do that. I didn't want to have kids because basically I thought I was too messed up. This isn't going to be right. I don't want to mess the kid up. And then at some point in my life, I started going to, I was actually seeing my second therapist, and we were really working through trauma. And this time I was actually diagnosed with PTSD and CPTSD. CPTSD is complex post-traumatic stress disorder. Really quickly, PTSD, very shallowly, like, is trauma from a single event. Think like, what is stereotypical? Like a bombing, right? You were in a bombing, one event. CPTSD is usually from long-term trauma, which could be like a kidnapping and being with your kidnapper for years. Long-term trauma. So I had both. Not because of those reasons, but I had both. And I was figuring out how to cope with my trauma. I was doing a lot of work, and at some point during therapy, I realized that I wanted to be a mom. It actually really flipped for me. I wanted to be a mom because I wanted to give a child more than what I had and better than what I had. And this was very big for me at that point, and it was very profound for me. And that's what it was for a long time. That was my reason. That was my reason for wanting to be a mom. I wanted to create something for someone else that I really, really wish I had. Not to say, I'm gonna disclaimer this, I did not have bad parents. I had parents who were doing the best that they could. And I talk about mental health, especially for Asians, because I feel that if my parents knew more about mental health and mental illness, they probably would have had better lives, and we would have a better connection. And that's what I'm going to say about that. My parents are not jerks. There were just issues that some of them to this day still need to be resolved. So anyways, yeah, I wanted to be a mom because of that. And that actually stayed like that for a long time. And, I made my peace. I made my peace with that reason, and it was a good reason for me. So yeah, it just kind of became my mindset for ever. And so I'm just going to leave that there for a second. So I have close friends who don't want to be mothers for many reasons. Some of the reasons are because they really didn't have a good childhood and they just don't want to do it. Another is they found freedom and just being by themselves, with themselves. And I will say for me, that was actually really hard for me to accept, especially being a person who wanted to have children. I didn't get it, in my head, I made it too simple. I was like, but we're social beings. It is in our biology. We're supposed to have children. And I know you had a bad childhood, but you can do, and I didn't say it this way, but this is what I was doing. You could do what I do. You can be like me, and we can actually heal this way. Which we just shouldn't push having children on each other. Women being women, we shouldn't push each other whichever way. Really, we should just support each other. about our choices. And so, you know, this is something that they put on TV and films where it always feels like it's either career or child. And I think it doesn't have to be that way, but I think a lot of the time it really does feel that way. Or there are specific things, right? Like, even though they're not supposed to discriminate you against women for having children, but if you're up for a promotion that needs to do stuff, like, you know, but now you're pregnant, they might take things away from you. Things might be considered, unfortunately, because our world is not better and it's still pretty misogynistic. That's real. Women do face the struggle. Sometimes we do have to choose. You know, and okay. I always want to make what is it called? And I talked to my therapist about these qualifiers, and I'm trying not to do that. And qualifiers is that I try to say something, go, but really also the situation, and I tried to make it so things feel more neutral, things are more complex, and they're not simple. But then I just end up not saying anything. So that's what that was, and I'm going to try not to do that. And now I lost my train of thought. It's gone. It can't be gone. We're literally on the subject of women having children. I'm going to start somewhere. So, you know, women, we feel like that we do really have to make a choice. That should be okay. It should be okay for women to prioritize their careers. Why? Because we are people. We're meant to be more than just parents, or some of us aren't meant to be parents, and that has to be okay too. You know, there's a lot of misogyny, and there's a lot of like internal misogyny within our own, within ourselves about, you know, needing to have a child, that you are not a woman unless you have a child. No, these are things that society tells us. Yeah, just because we're built to be able to do things doesn't mean we have to, or that we even should. So we need to support each other. We need to support women who don't want to have children. And I think the fight, the othering that happens within women, right? Because some women want to have children, some people don't. The othering there that turns into fights is the fact that we're taking it personally. I think personalization is a cognitive distortion that really falls into this, where if another woman chooses their career, you know, and you choose being a mother, let's make it like the real dramatic opposites, right? The ones that they put on TV and films. You know, if I am a stay-at-home mother, and this woman says she doesn't want children and she wants to be instead, like, she really wants to focus on her career and become the CEO of whatever company. I need to make sure that I'm not taking that as a personal attack. Just because someone is disagrees with you or just wants to choose the opposite of you doesn't mean that they are personally attacking you. I think that is a thing that happens. You know, so me, I will say me, because I do want to be a mother. I still want to be a mother. If someone else says to me, I don't want to do that, I really just want to focus on my career, I need to make sure that my insecurities and my fears that I have about being a mother, you know, the societal pressure around it, the fact that it might impede my career, you know, like sometimes, like, there's trade-offs, sometimes there's sacrifices. I need to make sure that that doesn't become that other person's problem, this other woman's problem. I need to make sure that I'm not taking someone else's decision to be an attack on me, because it's not. It's really not. And like the same goes for the other side, you know, if you want to focus on your career, and someone else doesn't, and they just want to be a stay-at-home mom. Like, we also can't attack that person and be like, you're like sending us back into the past, like you're not a feminist. That is not fair either. That's not what any of this should be about. We need to remember that feminism is about us being able to choose what we want because we actually want it, and not because we feel pressured or that we are reacting to society or other norms or wants of other people, right? That's what we need to focus on. So to recap, both sides need to make sure that we're not taking the other person's choice as a personal attack. That's a cognitive distortion. That's not real. Here is a qualifier that I will put in. There are jerks in this world. There are jerks in this world. There are people who don't know what personalization is. There are people who do take things too personally. And yeah, they are out there and they don't make life fun for us. But we need to stop thinking that that's the norm, that just because this one woman who does have kids is really like, ew, child-free people and career people, like, we need to make sure, like, we know you are not the monolith for women who want children, and people who want their careers and are just like, just because one of them goes, yeah, I'm a child, like, that sounds gross. Like, we need to make sure, like, no, we don't make this person like the monolith of women who want to focus on their careers. Like, all that infighting does not help us. And I think it's just there, like, it's been there. And it's there more so because of media, of TV and films and, drama. They all like to create that drama. And we need to be more aware and more real about what our lives can be and how life really is. And again, not take other people's choices as a personal attack, because it is not. It's just not. And those jerks who are out there, there are always going to be jerks. There are jerks for everything. There are jerk plumbers, there are jerk dancers, there are jerk Republicans, jerk Democrats. You know what I mean? Like, they're just jerks on every side of anything. So we need to remember that, and we need to remember to not stereotype people into this bubble just because of seeing one person. Because stereotyping is bad. And I'm going to just click that because someone's trying to call me. Also, someone tell me if my nose is bleeding, because my nose has been bleeding like this whole week. Anyways, yes, that's one big thing that I want to land on. Not every woman wants to be a mother, and that's okay for whatever reason, even if it's careers or not. And just because someone else chooses something differently than you, it doesn't mean they are attacking you. Really, that's like a big thing. You can apply that to a lot of things outside this conversation. Okay. So here's where it gets interesting. Going back to the first part. Can you even read this? No, it's going to be backwards. Oh, I can read it on this screen. Going back to this first sentence. It is perfectly fine if I prioritize my career aspirations over having a child. This, even though I want children, is where I am right now. I do want to have children. But right now, my priority is my career. Why? For me personally, I'm in my 30s. I'm 32. I'm turning 33 in September. Even though it sucks, because there is a biological clock. It's a very real thing. Because people hate women and they have not advanced the science about our reproductive system. So the biological clock thing is real. I still am at this point prioritizing my career because I feel like now that I'm in my 30s, I actually feel like I have a life now. A lot of my 20s was really figuring out how to be okay with myself, figuring out who I am and what I actually want. A lot of it was working through trauma. I'm still working through trauma now. Again, I still live with mental illness now. But I feel like in my 30s, like I finally feel okay enough to where I can actually like follow my dreams. And I know that's really cheesy, but no, it's real. Like I actually feel like I am okay enough to try to live the life I want to live. Lead? Whatever. And I think a lot of us might feel that way. I don't know. That is for you to decide. But, you know, it took me later than what this A, B, C, D path that we were talking about before, you know, like allotted. Because, right, I was supposed to be married way before 30, blah. But I'm not. And that's fine. I do have a boyfriend. We are very serious. We do talk about having children. But again, and even for him, like his career right now is the priority. And I want that for myself. And for me, and this is a very personal thing, this is not, you know, everyone's thought, but because I went through so much, I do want to deal with that trauma and figure out my mental health a little more before I have children. And also I want to accomplish things that I want to accomplish more than I want children at this point. I do. And one of my biggest fears around children is that I will have them too early and regret it. And I think there's a lot of stigma about, you know, like people, you know, and people can super disagree with me with this, but that's fine. I think people sometimes regret having children. You know, I hope not, that they don't actually regret their children being alive and in this world, but, you know, yeah, I think that it is possible, and it's kind of easy in this world where we're supposed to live in a very small box and in a very specific way. It is easy to have children before you are ready in many ways. So, yeah, that's why right now my career and everything, like, it's ahead of children. And what does really suck is that not everyone's in a place where they can kind of do that. Like, I'm in a place where I'm like talking to my boyfriend about like, hey, maybe I need to freeze some eggs, or maybe we should adopt. But, you know, those two things are actually like things of privilege. You know, those things cost money and time, and not everyone has that. And I have to acknowledge that. And I do acknowledge that. You know, just because I'm privileged doesn't mean like, oh my God, like I should feel shame. I feel like there's this thing where people like hear the word privilege, and again, they feel like they're being attacked. Just because you're privileged doesn't, you know, someone says you're privileged doesn't mean they're necessarily attacking you. Like I have that privilege where I can talk about actually very realistically, not just in theory, like freezing my eggs. That's a privilege. It's the very least, a first world privilege. So yeah, putting that note there. And so because I acknowledge that, I also have to acknowledge that, you know, some women don't have that privilege. So maybe, you know, like maybe there are some women out there who are like me and really fear regretting, like the thought of regretting having children too early, or like having children, like, and so they just don't, because they know they want their career first. And I think in this world, people like to say, you can have whatever you want, if you just like apply and work hard and blah, blah, blah. And baloney. Does that mean that, you know, baloney in general, that sentiment, super baloney. Does that mean that, you know, it has to be either or? No, not at all. When I think about my future and my future as a mom, like I know I want to be a mom. I have choices in front of me. and one of those choices is like, maybe I just don't have any sort of biological kid. I live my life. I take as long as I need to be ready. And so maybe I'm in my 50s when I'm ready to have a kid. And so maybe I have a teenager. Maybe I go adopt a teenager. Maybe that's going to be my life. Things they don't always have to be either or. But I think a lot of the time the thing is like, you can't be super rigid in how you want your life to be and then expect it to all work out in that rigid way. I think that brings a lot of extra suffering in life. Yeah. And in terms of children, like, it is really hard because I know there are people who do want like a biological child, and like that means they really have to make tough decisions. And so I think where I'm getting at this whole thing is that we need to support each other, right? That's why I made this card, because even if I am a woman that does want to have a child, I still want all the women out there who don't want to have any children to feel supported. I want the women out there who are putting their careers over having a family because that's what they actually want. I want them to feel supported, just like I want women who really want babies to feel supported. And this othering of women, this othering between all of us, is why I made these cards, because that affects our mental health. The fact that it's so easy for us to tear each other down, the fact that it's always like a storyline, especially like in a high school drama or something, like, right? So it's like fed to us like pretty young. I hate that. I made these cards that hopefully like make us feel more related and make us feel more seen and just feel more okay with our choices and who we are. So yeah, that was our talk today. That sounds like a good wrap up to me. So yes, I will read the affirmation one more time. It is perfectly fine if I prioritize my career aspirations over having a child. Not every woman wants to be a mother, and that is okay. It really is okay. You get to decide who you want to be, and you get to decide what being a woman means to you, and that is okay. So yes, this is my spiel for today. I am selling my Golden Goddess Affirmation cards. I'm actually selling them through a Kickstarter. And the link is pinned right there. So if you have it in your hearts and are able to, like, I'm getting uncomfortable, so I'm getting cheesier. If you're able to, honestly, every dollar helps for the Kickstarter. The Kickstarter in full is $3,000, and I think I'm just a little over 1,000 right now. I have 16 days left, so if you guys would like to support me, the Kickstarter link is there in the comments. If you are on YouTube or Facebook, it's right there at the corner. You can type it out. Or you can just you can Google Golden Goddess Affirmations and you'll find my Kickstarter. Every dollar counts. Please share it with women who you think would be interested in this kind of thing. Yeah, because I made this for us. And this is something that I want us as Asian women to have, and I want us to feel more together and validated. And so yeah, that's my little dream project. So thank you for being here. Thank you for listening to me speak. Thank you for listening to my story. These cards really do mean a lot to me. That's kind of why I'm doing these live streams, because I didn't just make a thing that I wanted to sell. Like I made these cards like because each thing I wrote about really means something to me, whether it's something that I wish someone had said to me when I was younger, or it's something that I struggle with now, or it's something that I just want to say to other women, to other Asian women. So yeah, those are my cards. I will be back here tomorrow at 5 p.m. So if you want to join me again to talk about another card, 5 p.m. Pacific Standard Time, right? Pacific time. I'll just go with Pacific time. On Instagram Live or Facebook and YouTube Live. Thanks, guys. Bye. I hope you have a great rest of your day. Let me try to end these at the same time. Hiya! Hiya! Nope, couldn't do it. Bye.